Hello. Today I'm talking to Brian Fox. He's the CEO of Ed Miniat. Hi, Brian.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well, Jenny. Enjoying the week, and it's been a great week, and looking forward to the weekend.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So tell me what Ed Miniat is.
Yeah, so couple things going on there. So the company that I'm CEO of is Miniat Holdings, and we have two companies within the Miniat Holdings group. So one is called Ed Miniat, and that is a cooked meats business. So think about sous vide cooked meats. We do that for a lot of restaurant chains across the country. And then the second company is called South Chicago Packing. And South Chicago Packing is the largest refiner and processor of animal oils and fats in the U.S. So think beef tallow and lard and things like that. That's kind of how we play on that side. Both of the companies are here in Chicago. I'm the Miniat business is here in South Holland, Illinois, on the south side of town, and the South Chicago Packing is up in Bridgeport, which is kind of near the White Sox Stadium. For those that know Chicago, and we also have a cooked meats plant down in Carrollton, Georgia.
So explain sous vide cooking. What does that mean?
Yeah, sous vide literally means, I think, with water. Basically, what you do is you take meat and you put it into a package and you seal that package and you submerge that package into a tank of water. And that tank of water cooks the meat very, very low and slow. So a typical product that we cook in that package may be in there for 6 hours on the short end to 12 hours on the long end. And because it cooks it very, very low and slow, it tends to keep a lot more moisture in the product. Again, that's also sealed in the package. It makes it exceptionally tender, and you can cook it to exactly the temperature that you want. So if you want a raw steak, we can cook a raw steak. You cook it to about 132, 133 degrees. You may cook that steak for 8 or 9 hours. You can take it out of the package and it's still a raw steak, but it's also fully cooked at that point. A lot of people then take those products and then put it on the grill or something else to heat it up and get that grill marks on the outside. But the inside of it is done already from the package, and it's food safe. That's the other real advantage to the product is when it comes out of the cooking process, it's completely food safe and ready to go.
And do you cook to order? So are you making other companies, like let's say a restaurant's recipes with the seasoning and everything?
It is just like that. So our business today is a lot of custom recipes developed specifically for restaurants. So we partner with whatever that customer is in developing a flavor profile, how they want the product to look when it comes out of the package. And yes, we can customize that into different seasoning mixes and things like that. We're moving more into what I call a standard set of items that can be sold everywhere. Think about it as a finish at the restaurant, meaning we cook the product with a kind of a either no seasonings or a base level of seasoning, and then a restaurant can open it up, heat it up, and put their own sauces or their own seasonings on top of it to make it simple. What we're trying to do is we're trying to help restaurants solve labor problems that exist in their back room. Right now, it's harder and harder and harder to get skilled labor. And what we do is we can provide an exceptionally consistent product that is the same every single time. We can do it very, very quickly. We can do it in a food safe manner, and we can make it where you simply open the package, heat, and you're ready to put it into a dish and it's ready to roll. So that's kind of taking some of the hard work out of the kitchen that happens on the restaurant side, putting it on our side.
That's great. Right. So thinking about that, it makes the restaurant more efficient, safer because they're not dealing with raw meat and having to handle that appropriately.
Exactly. Exactly. Particularly, people are more accustomed to handling beef and things like that, a little bit less of a food safety risk than it is in raw chicken. So think about raw chicken. You really want to make sure you get your areas cleaned and all those good things. We can do that for you and basically provide a product that's ready to roll right out of the package. No food safety risk, simple, easy, and you don't have to worry about the skill of the person in the back room too.
And do you deal with all meats like pork, chicken, beef?
Pork, chicken, beef, lamb. Yeah, those are, yeah, that's our business. If it's a meat protein, we can probably handle it.
So, how long have you been CEO at this company?
So been here for 7 months, and started back in February of this year. So been here for 7 months. Kind of the first non-family CEO in the business. The company has been around since 1890, founded by Lithuanian immigrants that came to the U.S. Started up a kind of a wholesale meat packing business in the stockyards of Chicago. As the business has evolved over time, we added the capability to do the oil refining. We kind of got out of the wholesale meat business and moved it over to this sous vide cooked meat business, and we're proud to still be family owned. Fifth generation's working in the business today. And it's a lot of fun. It's a great organization, a lot of fantastic people.
So, what is it like stepping into a multi-generational company as the first non-family CEO?
To me, so far, it's been great. I would say I have a little bit of experience in the very first company that I worked for was a family-owned company, although it was just the first and second generation still in the business when I was there then. But I got a little bit of the flavor of what that was like, and I liked it and I appreciated it. I think in some ways having a non-family as a leader in this area has us allowed to maybe sometimes get past what sometimes could be family-oriented challenges and, focus beyond some of those personality differences that may sometimes happen in family businesses, which we've all have it. We have those personality differences in my house between my wife and 3 kids. Those things are just kind of a normal thing, but being the non-family in there kind of allows us maybe sometimes to get past some of those hurdles. But everybody still has a strong affinity for doing well for the family name, a strong, connection back to the community, and a desire to continue to build on the reputation that they had built in the 135 years prior.
So, it sounds like there's a really strong culture in the organization.
There's a very, very strong culture in the organization. It was one of the things that really appealed to me as I came in here. The company is very, very culturally oriented. In fact, one of the things that stood out to me was the values of the company. Every meeting starts out with, how did we see our values in action during the last week, whatever that meeting was? And I see a lot of companies talk about values in action, but don't really do it very much. Here, we really do it. We talk about it. We celebrate what those values are and make sure that that's a forefront of our activity. And as a matter of fact, we just went through a process where we've kind of updated some of those values. I would say none of them changed dramatically. We just kind of modernized some of them and brought them a little bit more forward. And the employees love it, and they feel even more connected to them today. And most importantly, the values are who we are. They're not who we aspire to be. It's who we are today. And this is a way to reinforce who we are today for future people that join the organization.
So, when you're coming into a new company, whether it's family run or not, there's often things that you see that you would like to change. How have you approached that mission of looking at what exists today and helping lead transformation or change to improve operational efficiency,
Sure,
revenue, those kinds of things? How have you approached that? How do you approach that coming in as a new person into an existing organization with long-term employees?
Yeah, I would say, so this is the third time that I've been a CEO in a company. And this time it was different than the other 2 times. The other 2 times I came into businesses that needed a turnaround. They were losing money. So they needed a fix and they needed it quickly. In that kind of a situation, when you're in that position, you've got to act with an incredible sense of urgency in making things happen. And, in that sense of urgency, you maybe aren't always as careful and tactful as you should be, but you're trying to save a company. You're trying to get it back to a profitability. So I would say in the past, I came into that role and tried to move very, very quickly and change the culture. Here at Miniat, we have a really good culture. We have a lot of great people. It's more around fine tuning the different parts of the company that we feel like that we can do better than we were doing in the past. It's about trying to bring a little bit more speed and urgency to action. But in general, we're doing most of the right things with a lot of great people. So it was not a revolution. It was not an incredible, oh my gosh, we really have to turn this thing on its ear. This was about what do we do really, really well? What can we do better? And where are opportunities that we're not taking advantage of that we can into the future? So that's the different approach between kind of the turnaround business and what we're doing here at Miniat.
And hearing the way you're describing that, it almost sounds to me like you're asking those questions of the people. So getting them engaged, telling you what they see can be done better. Would that be accurate?
100%, Jenny. I spent probably the first 90 days meeting with as many employees as I could, saying what works, what doesn't work, what can we do better, what would you like to see change, what do you want to see stay the same. And so, as I said, we've got a lot of great people. I got a lot of great feedback from people, and the things that I took away from that are the strategies and things that we've put in place. It's why we updated some of the values. It's why we became much more declarative on our strategy. And being declarative on a strategy is a little bit about as much about what you need to do as to what you're not going to do. So I would say we probably tried to bite off a lot of things in the past, and we're trying to narrow that focus a little bit and go, yeah, that may be an interesting opportunity, but we're not going to go there because this is a little bit further outside of the core that we ought to be focusing on. And people go, okay, yeah, I like that. That's good. So people like to achieve a goal if they know what goal that they're trying to achieve. And so we're about bringing those goals forward, making it front and center, getting everybody pushing in the same direction, and people are responding very well.
Are you looking at internal process?
100%. We're looking at internal process. I'm a big believer in don't just assume the status quo. Challenge everything. Earlier in my career at a company that I was at, we went through a lean transformation, and lean really taught me an enormous amount about how waste exists in business, and it exists everywhere. And what is the value added part of that? What is the non-value added? How do we get out of non-value added? How do we get employees focused on higher value added instead of lower value added tasks? And some of that is, hey, you've really got to deconstruct some processes and figure out what can we do better than we do today. And honestly, we just kind of had a session on site. We brought somebody in a couple of weeks ago to help us do some value stream mapping training. And we had a really nice cross-functional group in the room. And everybody's like, oh my goodness, I didn't realize we took this many steps to do that. So this particular process, and I won't tell you all the process, but it went from 36 steps that are in that process today, and they think that they can get it down to about 19 steps in a future process. Well, everybody felt like they were doing the right things. Everybody maybe didn't love the old process, but it was not until you really kind of unpack that, put it out on a board with the sticky tabs and the lines that you saw, wait a minute, we backtrack a lot. Why do we backtrack? And why don't we do this right the first time here? And that's all about understanding where there are opportunities. Every organization has an opportunity to be better in that area. And by the way, one thing I'll say on that is lean is not just a plant thing. It's an office thing too. How do you create P&Ls and do them, when you're bidding on new business, and do that efficiently and effectively and the right way every single time? That's an example. How do we make customer service flow better, faster, without doing duplicate work? That's another example of it. And I've seen those things come to life, and it's a lot of fun to see everybody's eyes kind of get open and go, wow, there really is an opportunity to do things better. And so there's energy for that. And hopefully we'll use all this process work to help us move forward as we think about, other systems, new systems like ERPs and things like that for the future. Some of this will be really, really foundational work to make that go well.
That's great. That's great. So what do you see the biggest challenges for the business like in the next year or so?
Look, I'd say the biggest challenges for the business in the next year or so are we've got a lot of really good strategies to help grow our business. For us, it's going to be about prioritizing where we put our time and effort first. That's always one of the hardest things to do, because as a CEO, you see all these things and you kind of want to go, let's do everything and let's do it all at once. And take that approach, you tend to do all the things not very well. So it's about, hey, we're going to prioritize this first. We're going to do that really, really, really well before we start moving to the next thing. So prioritization, prioritization, prioritization. And it's one of my challenges. I know that I'm always pushing the organization to do things better and faster. I'm sometimes the hindrance on making the prioritization stick the way that it should. Some of that is looking internally and not just at the rest of the organization.
But I love your energy and enthusiasm, and that's got to filter down to the rest of the company.
We're in a fun business, Jenny. I like to say, we're helping feed people across the United States. If you can't be excited about something that touches people like that every single day, you're in the wrong business. And to me, it's just exciting. I love thinking about new ideas and new flavors and new products and delighting people at restaurants or in their home, wherever they happen to eat the products at. And to me, it's just exciting. It's fast paced. The consumer's always changing. So how do we keep up? Those things are fun to me.
So, Brian, what advice would you give someone who's coming into a new company in a leadership position, and whether it's family owned or not, they're the new guy coming in? How do you approach that? How would you advise someone?
Yeah, I would say the very first thing I do is talk to employees and listen. You're going to find an incredible amount of great ideas all across your organization. And if you're very open and honest and transparent and say, hey, I'm here to learn, I want to know from you what we do well, what we don't do well, employees will open up and engage with you and tell you things that maybe you would have found out differently or on your own. But in general, you can find it out much more quickly that way. Number two, be open to new ideas. They may be particular things that happen in that business, and they happen in your business for a reason today, that you may look at it and go, wow, this is an approach I haven't thought of. This is something that could be new. And by the way, you can do the same for them. Ask those questions, challenge them on the why. Well, why do we only market this way? Or why do we only market that way? Or why are we only talking about those products? I like the 5 whys, which is another lean principle. Use those 5 whys to try to get down to the root reasons why certain things happen. But listen, ask questions, be open-minded. Companies are successful for lots of different reasons, primarily because of the people there. So if you've got great people in your organization, getting that feedback from them, building on that feedback can allow you to build a better organization faster, build that trust, and get to the results that you want.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for sharing your experiences and your wisdom. And I'm sure that the company will be very successful under your leadership. And I wish all the best for you and Ed Miniat as you go forward.
Well, thanks, Jenny. It's been a pleasure. I enjoy these things, and I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.